You simply just if you've created your portfolio, remember you can create your own portfolio by clicking the plus signs, right? Give it a label and you can put whatever markets in here. So when it's time to roll over, you can do one of two things. You can either go to the main, I'm just going to hit the red X's to remove this, and you can, if you're not sure what month we are, remember the Segredo automatically updates. Your folder may not be updated because you have in your folder only the month that you put in there. But if you go to the main list, you see here where it says the exchanges, these you don't have to do anything to. These are automatically updated, okay? So if you go to the list and you're not sure, you can see which one is listed. So you can see GC here. GC, we're oh, why has it got this? That's interesting. Well, it's got the Z, and it is upgrading. It is flashing. I always look for the yellow. If it's upgrading, then I know that that's the real one. So what you can do is then you just go to your portfolio, if you like, because you don't want to run the whole list on your computer because it eats up a lot of resource. So just go to your portfolio and add the symbol, the new symbol. So you can just type in the first two letters, and the letters of the month should automatically appear, and you can see it's usually, they only give you a few options based on the month of the year. So because we're on 12, you know, per the alphabet, Z should represent December. So the letters are related to the months of the year. So if we're 12 December, then Z is that month. So it's whatever month we're trading it corresponds to the letter. And you'll notice another thing is that the daily will appear if it's the correct month. I find that if you choose the wrong letter, the daily chart will not appear on the list, and that's when you know you have the wrong month. And you will see that it will automatically be upgrading. So I'm just going to X out the daily. Well, actually, I'll leave it there. I'm going to leave the daily there for today's presentation. Now, the other nice thing about the radar is, some of you may or may not know this, but you can actually move these boxes back and forth in order of importance. Like, I don't use the phases because they're just giving me summaries, and I don't want to waste my time looking at additional summaries when I'm too busy looking at so many indicators. So I want to minimize how much I have to look at to make a decision. So you can prioritize these boxes by left-clicking and dropping the box in order of importance. So now that I have the mirror right next to my sequences, I can now crop this and only have the most important information that I want to focus on. And the buy and sell is going to give me the different entry points based on each time frame. So if you were a swing trader or a long-term trader, your daily chart is telling you to sell. And we're going to talk about that in just a second, because we're going to be talking about the algorithm. So let's get going here. We've got a lot of ground to cover. Any questions about Ninja or how to fix things, try to save that. I'll give you an extra 15 minutes at the end of the class, because once I get into the agenda, I prefer to keep the questions pertaining to the context of what we're talking about, so things flow smoothly and people can follow along. All right, so the first thing I just want to clarify really quickly is, notice, as you can see here, we have let me just start with this. Okay, so I'm just going to move this Segredo out the way. I have limited real estate space here for a moment, and I'll bring back the Segredo in just a second. But as everybody knows that I've discussed before, that you can have as many or as little time frames as you want. You don't have to have a daily chart up to make a 3-tick trade on a 1-minute chart before you pull the trigger, right? But with that being said, I always say it's best to, especially if you're trying to go for more than just your scalping 3 ticks, and you're trying to see the bigger trend of the market or the overall direction, it's very important that you always have at least 2 time frames. So you want to at the very least have a 1 and a 3 minute or a 1 and a 5 minute if you're a scalper. If you're more of a long-term trader, you can have something like a 3 minute and a 15 minute or a 5 and a 15 minute. But this concept, it doesn't have to stop there. Okay, if you're trying to see how the morning's going to go or the evening's going to go, you can actually look at your daily, from your daily information all the way down the time frames, and they'll show you the same price action but with different averages, so give you different kinds of trend predictions. So let's take a look at something like a daily chart. So if we start with the daily chart as the highest chart or the biggest summary you can look at, you can see why the Segredo, would have been giving you a sell on the daily chart. And you can see that we've been coming down. So, and you can see our MACD is about to cross. Our STO just ticked up right now because we have a little gap trade at the moment. That's from this buy that's just been created. So overall, we've been in a sell as a direction of a trend from the daily. But like I said, you can't necessarily just trade smaller, medium, or short-term scalping type trades off a daily chart, because you're going to incur a lot of risk, because you're going to be not be as accurate with your timing in the actual real-time price action. So you can actually scale this down to different time frames. Another view I like of the daily view, if I want a daily view, is I simply put my cursor on the chart, left click on the chart, and I hit 960. Now you'd be wondering, why do I choose the 960? And I just simply go up in time frame. Hold on one second. And if that happens, you just add more days to load, so it will give you more history to plot. And you probably should really have about 60 days. You can do like a 960 chart. Then it makes your indicators plot better. So as you can see, the daily chart is being given us a sell trend, but now the 960 is showing you the daily view, but a little bit more magnified. So now we can see that, oh, we are indeed, for the day, we've been mostly in an uptrend, on this gap trade. But still, that's not as accurate of a predict for individual trades. So I like to divide it in two. So from 960, I'll go to 480. Just, these are hypothetical numbers and not for any real reason, just that I divide it by 2 and take a look at it, and if I like it, I'll look at that. So as you can see here, half of 960 gives me half of the magnification. I can see things a little bit more closely. And then if I divide that in 2, I can look at something like a 240. Now a lot of traders in the pit type traders, they'll use something like a 240 as their daily view as well. A lot of people like that plotting. And so you can see, you can observe the trend, what's the gap trade, and you can see that we've been in an uptrend, which started from yesterday on this reversal. Notice the MACDs came all the top. The MACD still going through the center line. So when I look at this information, I can see that maybe the market's not done going up yet. Maybe this MACD has to still cross the center line, the 0 line. So maybe into tonight we'll still be going higher, and so forth. So if I want to take a look at things a little better, I can have the time frame, maybe look at a 120 minute. And you can see, indeed, we've been going up, but we had a little gap in an attempt to close the gap, and now we're continuing to buy. And the big question is, because the STOs are at the top, the 100's still got to cross, so maybe we're going to go a little higher if the 100's going to cross. Now you can, the question is, are they going to come down and complete that gap close at some point? Because they never closed the gap. We started to, but now the algos have come in and they're creating another buy. But you have to, at the back of your mind, say, well, the MACD's already crossed the center line based on your training from all the MACD and the principles that you learn about how to use the MACD based on your 1-minute chart. Remember, these principles that you learn on the 1-minute chart, all the rules, they actually apply on other time frames, but just over longer periods of time. So it could take all night before we actually start to really close the gap. So then this changes my predict. Now this says to me, well, maybe when the 100 finally crosses or may turn around, if the Stowe 20 ticks down, maybe tonight, instead of going up some more, we might go up this afternoon, maybe tonight we'll have some downtrending because I got to come down and close that gap and at some point hit that 13. So you're going to be playing with these types of predict, and when you see lots of red in the market, you go, oh yeah, I know they got to close the gap according to that, that higher time frame view. I know what's going on in the algorithm, in the bigger picture, so you won't be surprised. You go, so when you see a sell come up on your Segredo tonight, you go, oh, I know what's going on. So let's go lower down in time. Half of 120 is 60. If you go on the Ninja here, you can see 60 minutes. And you can see that a little bit more closely. 60 says, oh, the reason why we're green on the 120 is because we did actually close the gap and we're bouncing off support. And our Stows have crossed our oversold line. MACDs are really crossing. So now you can start to say, well, look, according to the 60-minute chart, the Stows are already at the top. The Stow 20 is starting to come down. The MACD's crossing. So that gap closing idea based on the 120-minute plotting is now looking to be a little bit more predictive. There's an element of predict. So all we got to do is wait for the momentum to run out. Maybe it's going to stop at this fractal. Maybe that's as far as we're going to go. I mean, there is a chance it could go higher to the next fractal if, the big boy is coming, but it's already 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So maybe all we got is this little price action to the fractal or something in between if a new fractal comes in. And then after that, we're going to start the descent. So when I see sell signals start to come up, once this last bit of momentum's run out, then I'm going to take those sells. Now I've verified. I've verified because I've analyzed the overall predict of the algorithm based on the rules of the plotting that I've learned based on the Shadow Traders education and how the strategies are designed. You should know, based on the previous classes that you've attended, and if you don't know yet, you've got some homework to do, but you should know what a gap trade is, what a trend trade is, and what a reversal trade is. What does it look like, and what indicators are in alignment? So you can see, okay, if your MACD's crossing your Stows at the top, fractals right there to give you the resistance point. We've already got 2 asterisks. Chances are we're going to start heading for a reversal real soon. As a swing trader, which time frames do you recommend? Well, as a swing trader, I would probably be looking at something like 240 and down, like 240, maybe look at the 120, and you could probably trade off a 60-minute and a 50-minute as a swing trader. So any of those time frames, I have a gal that I coached a while back, and she swears by the 60 and the 120. Whatever, she does the same principle that I talk about with the 1 and the 3 for short-term traders. She does the same thing when here, I'll do it like this. Let's make this a 120. Okay, and like I've always said, the principle of the counter trend is that when the higher time frames on a gap trade courses across on the lower time frame. So gap trades course across on the next time frame lower. So as you can see, if you were looking at a 120 versus a 15-minute chart, well, now you can see this chart starts to make sense. I mean, let's take a look at it from a summary point of view. If you look at these two side by side, just like you would a 1 and a 3, now you start to see, okay, there's the uptrend. The uptrend hit its peak. And oh, look, the Lindbergh crossed, the Lindbergh 4 made a V. We had the asterisk there to give you a confirmed high, right? You had your classic wick, and you can see there the MACD went through the center line, the Stows already crossed, and we started the gap trade. And you can see how that influences this flat direction on the 15-minute chart. But eventually, we've got a lot of momentum here, and that's kind of predictable based on this 100 stow not having crossed yet. You can see how much divergence is in this MACD, and so there's a lot of momentum still in the market to buy. But at some point, it's got to fizzle. And so if we could do something like a 60-minute chart next to a 15-minute chart, we can now start to measure where that momentum is likely to fizzle from. Now, and you can, the other thing about a 60-minute chart, what it's showing us is, oh, look, we have a runaway stow here. It's separated from the other two stows. And so it's understandable that this downtrend is now turning back around. And maybe at this fractal, we'll start to finally hit a real resistance point. Or like I said, if it breaks through this fractal, it will give you a new confirmed high. You'll get a new wick and a new asterisk, and from that point, you will start to see this 15 minutes start to cross. And when that starts to really come down, then you will start to see your lower time frames start to give you shorting opportunities, and then you can use the Segredo cells that come in and take them. So, but it's all about the domino effect. It's connecting the dots to go, okay, what is the probability factor of the market? So I would be expecting the market to go short this evening as this buy-up fizzles out, unless, like I said, this momentum keeps continuing. So you can't exactly say when in terms of timing, because it's all about the traders in the market and who's doing what, but you can predict that it's going to happen. A gap close is going to happen, a cross is going to happen, and there's going to be shorting. How does it relate to 6E, 6A, and TF? Well, remember, with all these strategies, it doesn't matter which market you're looking at. The rules are the same. I'll change this to a 6A so you can look at it. And now you can see on the 60-minute that we had the same pattern there, but there's the same thing. They're already ahead of the curve. They already completed the gap. So we changed this to a 60-minute, 6A, sorry. There you can see the same picture we just looked at in gold. Gold hasn't got there yet, but they're getting there. But this is what's going to happen. This is what's going to happen based on the plotting formation of the summary of the trend lines. It's predictable. Like I said, you can't tell the exact, I can't tell you, oh, it's 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock or 10 o'clock, maybe 1 o'clock in the morning. I don't know exactly. But if you happen to be in front of your screen and you suddenly see a shorting opportunity, like the 13 crosses the 50, you've got your touching candle, and you see the sell come up on your Segredo, then you go, hey, this is the trend trade short I've been waiting for. I've been waiting for the momentum to fizzle on the fractal. The Lindbergh's already crossed. The HMA's red according to the 60-minute chart. I'm waiting for that opportunity. Here it is. Now you don't second guess it when it's in front of you, because you understand how the plotting works based on the flow of the algorithm. Does that make sense? I just want to make sure everybody's following me. I'm not moving too fast. Would you say that trading off the 120 and 240 minute charts is much more risky? Absolutely. If you've got a little $2,500 account and you're the new guy, the new kid in town, then you can't trade off a 240 or a 120. No, you need to have considerable money in the account, and know that if you're going to do, I've had many people burned with overnight trading. You got to have a set stop. You got to figure out how many numbers of trades that you're going to do in the week, and where your stop's going to be, and how much you're willing to risk. Got to have a real maybe when you do long-term trading, it's better to trade fewer contracts, maybe one contract. Okay, have a wider stop, but bet on, as a swing trader, bet on longer-term predictions using your fractals and your higher time frame trend lines and so forth. So you have a certain, like let's say you're going for 20 ticks or 40 ticks over 4 hours, and you have a 30 tick stop. So you got to practice on the replay to see, okay, if you do this, how many times in the week does it give you your 20 or 40 ticks profit before it hits your 30 tick stop. Then you'll know if your stop's too tight or too wide, you see, and also the accuracy of your predict. But yeah, you do, you can't do that with a $2,500 account. If you're a $2,500 account person and you're just getting going in trading, then you really are trading from the 15-minute and down. 15.5, you can't even really enter on a 15-minute chart. You really should be entering on the medium term, 5, 3, and 1. You're trading in that range, that risk model, due to the volatility. Yes, and also correlated markets can give more structure to GC, most of the time correct, even on the bigger time frames. That's a very good point. Barbara created a very good document for you in the members download section. You must go through that members download section. There's lots of extra PDFs there for you to read, and she created a very good document listing the correlated markets, and you will see, look, some markets will be ahead of the curve already, like this has already started the descent. Gold's going to do this probably tonight, and then you will see, let's go look at the 6E for a second. You will see that the markets will correlate. They won't be tick for tick, but look, now you can see 6E is just starting. See, gold's 6A is ahead, but you can you see the overall trend is the same? The predict is there. It's all the same. It's just one market might be, progressing faster than the other one, but the predict is, the curve is there. That's what I'm trying to tell you. The curve is there. The predict is there. Let's take a look at, let's see who else I have on my list. 6C. And each market will, see, look, 6C and 6A are already ahead of the curve. They're like, yeah, we hit the high. That's it. It's time to come down. But look, the nice thing about having the correlated view now is if you have a certain element of predict, and you're looking for opportunity that's verified as opposed to chasing whipsaw, scalping every change of indicators in every direction. Now you can say, oh, look, 6A's already gone down, 6E's still got to go down, 6E's in the momentum of going down, gold's still got to go down. Now you can go, okay, I'll do one trade I'll take advantage of what's left in the 6E. 6A I'm not going to trade because it's already done it. 6E, I'm going to place the trade as soon as my entry comes, as soon as the sell signal comes, I'm going to place it because I already know where it's going based on what 6E and 6A has just shown me. And oh, when gold does it, I'm definitely going to take one there. So now you've got 3 predicts that are the probability factor is a lot higher. All you have to do is wait for the setup to show up. You just have to wait for the sell to come in and for your cross or your touching candle entry or your gap close entry to come in. So you already have the predict element knowing what you're looking for. And you just have to wait for the rules of the strategy to show up. Now, if you're using the Segredo, what's even nicer, let's just take it back to gold for a minute. What's even better if you balance your NinjaTrader plotting with your Segredo plotting. So I like to do something like this. As you can see, look, now Segredo's giving you a sell opportunity. And the likelihood of the sell opportunity, now if you're the $2,500 account guy and you're just trading with your 1 in the 3, as soon as you got your 2 time frames confirmed, then your sell opportunity is likely to work out better because you've already taken a look at what 6E's already done, what 6E's lining up to do, and you can see the overall trend. So I'm more likely to go short in the market this afternoon based on the highs we've hit as an overall trend prediction than I am likely to go long chasing the high of the high of the high, you see. So and the Segredo is going to give you that timing. You can see here the quant per the 15-minute is said, okay, we already hit our high, came down, we hit another high, at some point all this is going to start turning and going to blue. So, but the Segredo is going to give you the actual timing on the shorter time frames to follow as an entry. And I like to take the ones, you know, you can see the cells coming in on the mirror trader. It'll flash in any second. Was there a second ago. I like to, screen candles messing it up. I like to go in on the ones and twos that come in on the lower time frames based on the 3 minutes already starting to confirm that the 1 minute is going to hold true. So I'm using that 2 time frame in sync principle on the lower time frame, and I'm looking for that opportunity to come in based on the confirmed highs and lows of the higher time frames. Okay, so you can see the 50 minutes coming in with a circle with a dot. If you look at our 50-minute chart here, it's coming with that circle with the dot. There's the wick. Okay, so the fractal is going to come any minute as soon as this turns into an asterisk. And so that confirmed high, based on the other information I looked at, is telling me, you know, shorting is coming and shorting's where I want to go. Those are the moves I'm going to be betting on when they come in, based on this information, based on the fact that we're going to close the gap. This is, you know, just the last bit of momentum. So I'm not going to be trading and predicting the market's going to go long here. You know, we're already hitting the HMA resistance point. We already had a confirmed high previously, and the Linregs are already below the HMA. These are all conditions for counter trending. So, and you can see there's your mirror trader giving you your sell signals, saying, look, the sell's coming in. So, does that make sense? Let me see here. What do you use as an entry? Well, the entry always comes down to your strategy that you're going for and your desired targets. If you're doing a reversal trade here, you know, well, you could have started when the HMA changed color, right, on the 1 minute chart. You could have started on the fractal cross. You could have started on the 13 and 20 cross. They're all going to give you a little bit of risk. Every strategy is going to give you a little bit of risk, but you know, you're trading the overall direction to go short on a reversal trade. So whether it always comes down to the entry you should choose should always be on the rules of the strategy that and you only trade the timing based on when you see these rules show up. So like I always like to tell people, even though I know that the market's, you know, ultimately going to come down based on the longer term prediction, I don't just jump in the market and sit there and put my stop as wide as I can possibly put it and wait for the market to give me my 20 ticks. You know, I don't trade like that. I see the overall direction, but then I have to wait for my criteria of minimal risk entry to show up. And the criteria for minimal risk has to have certain sets of rules. That's what we're doing. We're managing risk, so we don't have to sit there with very wide stops. You know, because things could change. I don't know, a bomb could go off, an earthquake like we saw in Japan, you know, last year. Anything could happen in the next hour that I don't know. And just because I predicted the market's going to go short, there's always an element of change that could change. So remember, it's a probability factor. It's not an absolute. So I have to anticipate that things could change. So I still have to manage my risk. And the way you manage your risk is per the rules that Barbara has designed for the strategies. She has back-tested hundreds, and she's tested hundreds of formulas and hundreds of indicators over the years, and she's come up with what works the best together. That's going to minimize your risk if you follow certain timings of entry. So at the end of the day, you're either doing your gap trade, or you're doing your reversal trade, or you're doing your clear trade. You can see here we're going into clear trade mode. And see, look, there we go. There's your confirmed high in the 120. There's your circle that are coming in, and we're finally maybe looking now we're going to start coming down to go short. What are the specific rules for the criteria that you wait for to take yourself? Well, you know, it's based on what I like to favor. Like I like to do the trend trade, but it doesn't mean I won't do a gap trade or a reversal trade. If you're looking for my personal choices, well, I will take whatever I feel comfortable with if I want to play. You know, some days, you know, the trends are not so hot, so I'll steal a few gap trades, you know, or if I see the reversals looks really good because, you know, the 15-minute is red and let me change this back to a 3-minute for a second. And my 3 minutes confirming with my 1 minute, and I see that I like to trade these. If I'm going to do this counter trading, I like to trade it when I see the 3 minute is giving me my gap trade. That's my counter trend. And then my trend trade, of course, is always this, when I've got 3 or more moving averages backing. These are the two strategies I like to trade. And I like to wait for when the formation appears, the criteria pairs according to the 3 minute plotting. Not so much the 1 minute plotting. The 1 minute is really there to give me the exact timing of the candle, because the 3 minute candle is a big candle. I want to catch this bar in the middle of this bar, not the end of that bar. I want to catch the middle, so I don't have to incur this whipsaw. And you know, the latest, ideally this bar, but if I don't get that bar, I want to get this bar by the middle of the latest. So the 1 minute helps me to nail the exact timing inside the bar, but I'm trading the 3 minute criteria, and I predicted the criteria is going to come based on my 1 minute, my higher time frame plotting. That's the algorithm. It's telling me, look, it's HMA's changed color. We hit the fractals already. The Linregs are on the inside. These are all rules we've gone over for counter trending. You know, the criteria is there. You just have to wait for it to show up. And then when your rules for entry are there, when A shows up, you trade from B to C per the timing of the strategy. Because every strategy is going to have a certain amount of whipsaw. What makes me miss the perfect trade sometimes is your rule of it doesn't cross until it crosses, but trade still works. Well, that's the problem of are you talking about the 1320 cross? You know, the problem with when you're dealing with volatility in the market, not every cross is the same. You know, A doesn't equal A equals A equals A. It does, you know, not all apples are the same. You get Golden Delicious, Granny Smith, you know, you get all kinds of apples, but they're still in the apple family. So not every cross is going to be the same, you know, and when you make a statement like that, you know, sometimes it's going to be perfect and sometimes it's not going to be perfect, and so the fact that you waited for the cross would have prevented a huge loss. So you kind of just have to play the law of average game. You have to kind of follow certain rules, and you're going to miss some good moves, oh well, but you're also going to avoid some good losses, so big losses. So you have to weigh the pros and the cons. Just go for some, and then if you see that the majority of it works out, fine. And then you can also fine tune it by saying, okay, maybe I'll get in when I see the HMA crosses the 13 moving average as opposed to when the 13 crosses the 20, or when the Linreg crosses the HMA. You can fine tune your entries with additional indicators to help compensate for that lagging crossingness. But no, if it goes wrong, the ultimate rule still stands. It doesn't cross till it crosses. It's just a variable. It's going to happen some of the time. And some are rotten. Sure, it is. Good point. And sometimes if you wait and get good momentum, clear trade, which looks good. Looks right, exactly. Here's a question. Would you wait for the 13 to cross the 20 on the 3 minute, or take it based on the HMA color change? No. On the 3 minute, I would take it based on the HMA color change. Because remember, you're trading the gap trade criteria, and what is the gap trade criteria? It's based on that HMA color change, or when the HMA catches up to the price. It has to be in more than 5 ticks before you hit the 13. These are your rules, remember, for gap trades. So I'm not waiting for the cross because that's too laggy. It's a 3-minute that summarizes a lot of price action. Look, we're only just starting to cross, and look at all this price action I could have taken based on implementing the same strategies on the timing of the 1-minute chart. Every one of these boxes is a timing you could enter on. Every single one. You could have done the gap trade when the Linreg turned and you got the asterisks and the HMA caught up to the candle. That's an entry with 5 or more ticks before you hit the 13. So you could have stolen 3 ticks there. When the HMA changes color and you see we go red, that's an entry there. When at the cross of the 13 to trade the reversal, that's an entry there. Or when you see that we're heading to cross that 3rd moving average to become a clear trade, that's an entry there. Every single one of those are entries that you could have taken. You know, you could have scalped all the way down to minimize your risk, or you could have entered at the top or somewhere in the middle there and just traded the overall direction, ignoring the green stuff in between. And that's, having that confidence, I think, is where the Segredo comes in, to be able to ignore the stuff in between, because the Segredo gives you the numbering system along with the oscillator histogram to confirm that the direction is holding true. And where you are in the overall cycles, as you can see here, we're only just hitting 7 now. Well, that makes sense that we would be hitting 7 and having, hitting some, getting the yellow coming in and Christmas coming in to tell us that we have to get out, because you can see we hit some support in the market. The fractals are there, the 200 moving average is there. These are major support points. So now when you combine the plotting of the ninja with this, you can understand why the Segredo is giving you a Christmas right now and some green and going in the opposite direction, because you can actually see that support on the ninja. But the nice thing is what I really like about the Segredo, and where people really miss the boat, I think the people who jumped in and just, try to just jump in on every number one and they got burned a few times and they got scared of the Segredo. Those people, if you're one of those traders, I tell you where you really missed the boat is understanding, how the strategies work, how the algorithm works, and understanding how to verify. But where you really missed the boat on this is that the Segredo, what this does is where you're confused on the ninja, like just a few questions I got a few minutes ago about people asking me, well, where would I enter in all of this red stuff? Because we're going red and then we go some green and then we go red and we go some more green, and where would I enter? All this confusion. Is it really going? Do I have the right confirmations? It is now eliminated, that uncertainty factor, because you have the numbering system to say, well, it doesn't matter that your 13 is not quite crossed yet. It doesn't matter, because we're at a number 1 or number 2 and the HMA is red. We're below the gray line. Oscillator is red. Go for it. We're giving you the timing. That's what the Segredo is saying. But you still have to verify, is the direction true? Because now you can see here's a number 1, number 2, and like I said before earlier, if I know the overall direction of the algorithm, and I know per my higher time frame we're at the high of the high of the high, we should be looking for short opportunities. Guess what? I'm not going to take this number 1 or number 2 going long. It's not a high probability one. It's not going to hold true. We had some green stuff come in the market, so the Segredo had to calculate and give you a number 1, number 2. It's not telling you, hey, the best trading is long or the best trading is short. That's where you missed the boat. It's saying, we got some green stuff. This is the beginning of the green stuff. Take it or don't take it. Here's some red stuff. This is the beginning of it. Take it or don't take it. You still have to verify. Is this the right green stuff that I want to get in on? If I look at my higher time frame, oh no, we hit the fractal, Linregs are below the HMA, MACD is above the center line. No, I'll wait for a red number 1 to come in. When that comes in and I got the confirmation of my oscillator plus my 3-minute, now I'm likely to take that number 1 versus the green number 1. And that's where people miss the boat, because they just took every number one, and then they felt betrayed when they lost the money, and they got scared of the Segredo. That number 102 is on the blue Segredo oscillator. Exactly. Exactly. So it's not a true one. You know, and neither is this. So the oscillator is actually telling you, hey, and notice how early the oscillator comes in. The oscillator is coming in blue before the actual real downtrending actually really starts. So it's giving you a heads up. It's saying, hey, we're out of sync. We're not green on green. We're green on blue. So that means there's change going on, and chances are we're going in the opposite direction. So don't get sucked into the green candles. And this is where the true value of the Segredo is in helping you to avoid mistakes, and taking that uncertainty out of the ninja. You know, there's a lot of uncertainty in ninja because every candle looks like the next candle, and like the gentleman just said earlier, you know, how do you separate one cross from another cross? Because sometimes the cross is good and I should have gotten in, but I waited for the real cross and then I became late. And sometimes I get in and before the cross and then it doesn't work. So it's not all apples are the same on Ninja. You kind of just have to take the good with the bad and go for the law of averages. But with the Segredo now, we're starting to fine-tune things a little bit. We're starting to qualify, you know, where the market is, the probability factor is the greatest. That's what we're trying to qualify. We're not saying frames. You start looking for opportunity in the right direction instead of getting sucked into some green stuff and some red stuff that you thought woulda, coulda, shoulda based on some indicator that you thought was true. Well, oh well. So this is, now you can see, look, the red candle's already coming in. This is real time. It's not that laggy. Right? And just a few, when we remember we had some buy and green stuff, and I already told you, I predicted, well, look, the market's going to come down close to gap. We looked at the 6C, the 6A, that's already going short. So we know gold's going to follow. They're correlating markets. And guess what? There's a nice run. You know, and the Segredo gave it to you. It gave you the numbering system on where to get in. Look, the 3-minute confirmed it for you. And the 3-minute, you could even further qualify your green stuff and red stuff by using 2 Segredo charts next to your 1-minute chart like this. So now you can say your 3-minute is now giving you the blue, and you know, and the HMA is crossing with number 3. Maybe I'll enter here. That's at 1321. Right? When the 3-minute crosses, well, guess where 1321 is? Right here where the real trend actually really, up to this part here where we're going to cross the 50, this is all counter trending, so anything could turn around. But now when we really got the momentum to go through that 50 and start the real trend direction, guess what? Your 3-minute now becoming involved. That's why I like the 3-minute, because it tells me when majority of traders are really going in that direction, as opposed to the 1-minute that's telling me, well, some traders are going in this direction. So it gives me more certainty because there's more traders going in that direction. And so now the story starts to all make sense when you start with the higher time frame and work your way down. And that's what the algorithm is based on. You're basically looking at the plotting of your indicators at different time frames to kind of analyze your trend lines to see, have we hit highs, have we hit lows, have things changed color, are the fractals there, are we bouncing off resistance or support, and what is the overall direction? Does that make sense? How do you fit all your charts in? Well, that's the nice thing, is I don't have to have all the charts up to make a trade. You know, what I have is what I call a rotating chart. So this is my, let me do this for a second here. I use 2 screens, so what you can do is you can have your 1-minute Segredo and your 3-minute and your buy-sell signal thing on one monitor if you like. And then what I do, I'll move this over to the side for a second. You can have it like that, and then I have my second monitor. You always got to have at least 2 monitors. You can't really trade with just 1 monitor. It's not advisable. You can, and then on my second monitor, I'll have my 1, 3, and 50-minute. But my 50-minute, I go in the days to load, and I add extra days. On the other charts, I only have like 5 days. That's all you need. Don't put any more than that. But on this, only on this one chart, I go and I actually put 30 days. You don't need more than 30. Okay. 30 to 60 is maximum. And I call this my rotating chart. So remember, you don't have to have a 240-minute chart and a daily chart, because you just need to get the overall predict of the directions. And so when I first start trading, I kind of scroll through all the markets and I rotate. I go, okay, well, let me go check out the 60-minute. Oh, okay, I see we hit the fractal, got the asterisk, HMA's red, 13 starting to cross, MACD. I kind of just pinpoint where everything is. And I go, okay, well, let's go check out what the 120 minutes plotting. Oh, wow, its HMA is also red. Linrex, yeah, it looks like, yeah, we're probably most likely going to come down and close the gap as soon as this momentum fizzles out. And then I'll go to the 240 just to see what that, and I say, oh, look, fractal, hit the fractal, Linreg's already crossed, Linreg 9 starting to cross the HMA, HMA's caught up to the price. You see, remember, I'm going through rules that you all studied and you learned how to apply in the 1-minute chart. I'm saying these same things based on the high time frame. So now it's saying, okay, well, that's all there. The rate's likely to hold. That means my 1 minute's definitely, my 120 is going to close the gap, which means it's going to give me some shorting opportunity on the lower time frames. It's a domino effect. That's the algorithm. And so then I'll go, okay, and sometimes if I'm not sure, like if I'm like this could go back green or could go back long, I'll go look at the next time frame higher, just to kind of get and see if there's any resistance points. Like here we're hitting the 100 moving average, and the HMA is just catching up to the price. So chances are we're going to hit some, it's going to start to change red. So if I see something else on something on another time frame, it gives me more certainty that what I think is true is likely going to happen. What I think is coming next is likely going to happen. That's what I'm trying to say. So I don't have this all up. I go, and then I'll just go right back down to the 50-minute, and I just trade off. When this candle's red, this gives me my criteria, this gives me my criteria for entry, and now if my Segredo gives it to me, oh, wrong chart, then I'm all good to go. And you can also do something like this where you can have a Segredo. You can be selective of what chart you're going to use. You can have your Segredo 1 minute and this like this, if you like. You can put it on one screen and just trade like this. So you can see, okay, this is red, there's my entry, this is red, oh, we're all good, and oh, my mirror trader gave me a sell, you know, I'm good to go. So you can have just one screen like this, that's all you need. You can play with the different workspaces. Remember, the idea of the workspace is you don't necessarily need to see everything there is to see, but you want to be able to establish a focus. You want to look for key important factors, like when this crosses or that crosses, or this gives you a red with that cross, and you go, okay, that's my signal. Everybody has their own favorite signal that they feel really certain about, that they know if they do it 98% of the time it's going to work. And if they have their stop at a certain place, even if the 2% don't work, they haven't lost any money. And that's really what trading is all about, is figuring out what that comfortable signal is. Like Barbara has her favorite thing is the counter trends. My favorite thing is the trend. You know, I might do the odd counter trend and she might do the odd trend, but she's always going to go back to her favorite criteria. And you're gonna establish that on your own. It's not for me to tell you which one's the best, because there isn't a best. There isn't one. We're all different types of thinkers. That's what I've come to learn in coaching so many people and dealing with different questions and issues that people present to me. I've come to learn that we're all different people and we all have a slight little twist. So my job is to teach you what the rules are and to show you how to implement them, and it's your job to go back test them and pick which one you're comfortable with. That's your job. I'm not here to tell you which one's the best. There is no best. It's all different points of view. Also, everyone's vision grabs different structures as the clearest for them. Great point. We need to know ourselves. Yes, I tell you, trading is one of the best mediums to learn about what your weaknesses are, what your strengths are, and how you look at things. Can you go over the Segredo color changes, please? When to trade and when not to? Sure, I can definitely highlight that. Let's talk about, let's take a look at this 1 minute chart for a second. I'll just expand this for a second. And the nice thing about this is you can also use these zoom factors on the top here. So if you want to look at more history, you can either use the scroll bar or just the zoom factor. And that kind of gives you the whole last few hours, you know, whole day practically. But let's go to like 2 hours so we can see it a little better. So in highlighting the colors real quick, the first thing you want to separate what's the oscillators doing versus the candles versus the HMA color change. Because all three are going to give you slightly different timings. Do you ever use a strategy of using 20 or more contracts and just go for fewer ticks, even just one? Sure. In fact, that's how I encourage people to trade. If I had my way, I would tell people, iron the kinks out with one contract for a while. Once you figured out who you are and how you like to trade and what signals you like to focus on, then you go from 1 to 2, then 2 to 3, 3 to 5 if you like. You don't have to do 4, then 5. And then, you know, once you have 5 contracts, you should be making pretty good money with a conservative number of trades to minimize your risk. And then from there, you know, even if you do one trade here and there on something really obvious, like a really obvious move, and you go with 20 contracts, if you have the money, you have the money. Then you don't have to do 20 contracts on every trade. You know, sometimes if I think the market's flat, I'll go back down to 1. If I think the market's really good, I'll go suddenly up to 5. You know, you can play with risk like that, you know, as long as you've already created a surplus. Don't be trading with risky numbers like that from a gambling standpoint without having made the money first. Don't do that, because you will only mess it up. Psychologically, you'll do the wrong thing because of the risk factor. So anyway, so let's touch on the color changes really quickly. It's a loaded question, but I'm going to answer it. It's normally I could spend a whole class on just Segredo. So let's talk about the first thing you want to focus on is obviously the simplest thing is the HMA color change when it goes from green to red and back and forth. And so you can buy and sell just off that. You know, if it changes color, then you can go short. If it changes green, you can go long. Whether you're scalping 1 tick or whether you're going for 3 ticks or 5 ticks, you can decide which ones are the bigger ones and which ones are the shorter ones. So you could scalp just off those HMA color change. The next thing you could do as a strategy is maybe when the HMA changes color and you get a cross of something. So now when the HMA crosses the gray line, which is your 13 EMA trend line, it's plotting for you, to give you a lagging indicator with a leading indicator, to give you that balanced view. Now you can say as a strategy, you know what, I'm only going to trade when they cross. So maybe you enter here, take 3 ticks, you enter here, you take 3 ticks, you enter here, you take 3 ticks. So that could be a strategy. And then the next thing is you could say, well, I'm only going to take it when I see green on green with the oscillator, you know, or got green numbers with the oscillator confirming. So here, I wouldn't take this one short, because if I look at my oscillator, I got green numbers with blue bars. Remember that if the colors are out of sync with the numbers and the bars, then you've got Christmas situation going on, and what that represents is change. There's not enough probability in that direction. Okay, the market's thinking about it. So when we say out of sync, we're looking to coordinate green on green or red on red. So the first thing you need to know is that the green candles must have green numbers to be considered high probability, and the red candles must have red numbers. If they're opposite in color, if it's a green bar with a red number like this, that represents change. It's time to get out. We call that Christmas. Any red and green combination is Christmas. That represents change. Okay? Or flat market. Especially when you see lots of ones and twos, like these ones coming the right. Notice that they're all Christmases, because it's telling you it's a flat market. There's no volume or there's change. So you always want to only pick the ones and twos that are either green on green or red on red. Number color must match color bar. Then if you look at from the oscillator part, it's the same, the histogram. When it's the green bars, it must be green on green numbers. And if it's the red bars, it must be red on red. If you see that go opposite, like here, can you see that we are red numbers at the top here with green bars? Well, that says change. It's time to get out. It's Christmas. So if you happen to get in on the cross and you're trading up, and suddenly you see that the oscillator is starting to come in with Christmas, and you got Christmas candles on the top, red candles with green numbers, time to get out. Now you know your exit point. But you're not going to get in again going short because it's Christmas. It hasn't confirmed that we're really ready to go down. You're only going to go short when you see red on red and you see the red numbers with the blue bars. So when it comes to the counter trending, that's what the blue and the yellow represents. The green and the red represents the trend. That's easy to see the colors. But where people get confused is now we've got yellow and blue with red and green numbers. What do I look for? People get confused on that. So the thing that you just need to remember is that yellow means up. Therefore, anything that's true on the yellow or high probability has to have green. So it has to be green on yellow to represent true. If it's red on yellow, then it's Christmas. It's not high probability. And for the blue, blue means down, counter trend down. So it has to have red numbers with the blue to be true, high probability. If it's green numbers with the blue, there's change. Like here, I would not go short here because it's green numbers with the blue. Okay, I go short here because it's red numbers with the blue. So the blue bars have to have red numbers and the yellow bars have to have green numbers. That's all you need to know. Okay, so we talk about red on red or green on green. And that's all the simplicity of it. Is no more complex than that, guys. So what you're looking for, when you compare, when you connect all the dots, it starts to become a lot more certain, because now you start to say, let me see here. See, look, now we got Christmas. We got a red candle with a number 6. And this was blue, now it's green. If it's flashing and changing colors, then you don't trade. You get out. If it's not holding true, then you don't trade. So you can see here, where's our GC? We hit a resistance point, okay? So I would have traded the gap trade into the reversal based on, here's our green number 1 with the yellow confirming with a green number, so that's true. And my HMA is now crossing my gray line. So I would have traded that and taken my ticks until I hit a resistance point or Christmas came out. So I would be out already. By number 5, I will be out. And it starts to become easier if you just look for the entry and just take a few ticks. Don't try to trade all the way till you see Christmas, because now what you're getting into is what do you do with stuff like this, where you have to have a little bit more experience to really catch this. Rather just get in, focus on the entry, take a few ticks, and then once you get some money in your account and you have a bit more experience and more confidence, now you can start writing things like this, where it's green on green, you start the trade based on your cross, and you're going along, and suddenly you see some Christmas. But you know that the overall trend has still got more momentum left. It's not finished yet. And you can see based on the oscillator bars are very long. They're not short and flat. That's the other thing to look for. You'll notice that when the oscillators got small bars for a consistent period of time, the market's flat. But now when you see the bar to bar starts to increase in length as the trend's developing, you know, when you see the first sign of Christmas, you're not necessarily going to get out if you're a trend trader. You're going to learn to ride through that. And to do that, you have to connect a couple of dots. You have to go, okay, my 1 minute's giving it to me. Let's see what my 3 minutes doing. And this was at 12:58. So let's go to 12:58 here. Yeah, so 57:58. Can you see that the 3 minute gave you a red bar with Christmas, but our oscillator was still very green on still a number 3. And because the 3 minute was still a number 3 versus a number 8, and over here on the 1 minute I've got some Christmas coming in, I know that the trend is not over. It's only a number 3. And we're green on the oscillator. Probability factors, we still got some momentum left. So I can now choose to ignore this Christmas and continue with the trend until we get closer to a 7 and be out by 7. You want to always be out by 7. So I can use the 3 minute 7 instead of what the 1 minute, or the combination of the 3 minute 7 with the 1 minute Christmas coming in. So now you can really maximize your profits by using 2 factors to time your entry, stay the course, and really look for that exact entry. About the HMA color change on the Ninja chart on the 50-minute, did you say at one time that we should wait until the color change catches up to the price for it to change direction? Yeah, you can do that. You see the 50-minute here, where the HMA actually, it doesn't have to change color. Can you see there that red candle coming in? When the HMA catches up to the price, you're always going to get an immediate first attempt to start closing the gap. And then when you get the HMA change color, you're going to get a continued gap trade. This rule is true on all time frames. You got 2 different timings for the change of direction here. If we look at the timing of this, where this HMA caught up to the price, here you can see 11:45. If we go to let me find my 15-minute Segredo here. See where 11:45 is. Here's 11:45. Can you see that the Segredo was giving you a Christmas candle? The oscillator was still green, so it's saying that the trend wasn't completely over. As you can see that, you know, we still had some green stuff come in. But being that it's a red 15-minute candle, that's going to give you some price action to scalp on the lower time frame. Just the fact that the candle is the color red. So, and I would be more comfortable getting in on that red candle, but using the 1 minute to time the actual entry. Let's go to 11 to 11:45. Sorry, 11:30 to 11:45. Here it is. 11:30 to 11:45 gives you your 50-minute 11:45 candle. So here's 11:50. There it is. So now I would be more comfortable to trade that entry because the HMA is caught up to the price. And if you know that the HMA on the 1 minute is already caught up to the price and the 1 minute HMA's change color, then you know, okay, this is where I would actually time my entry. So I'll probably time my entry closer to this 11:35 candle. And I'll be trading this anticipation to come short because the HMA caught up to the price, combined with the fact that the fractal told you we hit a resistance point, giving you the asterisks, and so on. These are all confirmations to say we've hit a high, time to go short. Now you just have to wait for the plotting to tell you where your entries are. And you can do the entry based on the 1 minute or the 3 minute. If we go back to 11:30 on the 3 minute, see, I could say, oh, well, you know what, I'm actually only going to enter when my 3 minute changes color, somewhere here. So you can play with the timings, but you do have the predict based on that HMA change color, provide the HMA caught up to the candle. It's actually touching that candle. You see all the way, what people don't realize, because this is after the fact, is that when this price is shooting up like that, the HMA is slightly laggy, it's left behind. It's left behind. And then at some point when the price hits its high and starts to fizzle, change direction, the HMA catches up to the candle and starts to touch it and connects with it, and then the price goes below the HMA. So that timing helps you to see when the fizzles happened, when it's time to take the opposite direction. And the lower time frame, the 3-minute, gives you your exact point of entry per the rules for the strategy. See, this, I'm trading a gap trade. I'm trading the gap trade strategy, and per the 1-minute chart, like I said, gap trades goes across on low time. I'm trading the reversal strategy. So it's still red price action, it's just plotted as different strategies on different time frames. Does that make sense? What signal lines in the quant oscillator, what signals lines is the quant oscillator measuring? Ah, that's a good question. And being that I'm not the genius, the brains behind the operation, in fact, there's 2 other people that's really the brains, which is Barbara and another, her partner, that are the brains behind this operation. So, because I'm not a coder, I'm not a chart technician, I'm not even a computer person, you know. I can't tell you that. And then if I probably knew and told you, I probably have to kill you. So I'm sorry, I can't answer that question. I don't really know. But you know that even though it's kind of like, if you think of the MACD, you know, it has a center line where there's the histogram telling you when things are changing direction. You probably have to. You have to understand that even though these are simple indicators in terms of plotting, we've got a histogram with some numbers, we've got some candles with some numbers and 2 trend lines. There's nothing too complicated about that. But understand that to give you the sequencing and to give you that timing, there's very sophisticated combinations of indicators. There's no one thing, actually. I will tell you that. It's a combinations. It's like when these ingredients come into the mix, then we give you this, and when these ingredients come into the mix, we give you that. And so it's very sophisticated, very complex. It's not one thing. Like, I can't tell you, oh, this is the MACD or this is the Stows, or I can't tell you that, and I don't think Barbara will tell you either. So, but you can trust the fact that what makes us so special, aside from any other indicator, is the fact that it is simple in its plotting, in its format, to avoid that exhaustion that traders face and that uncertainty of having too many indicators, which is why Barbara started to move in this direction, because people just inundated her with, what about this and what about that, and what do I do with this, and this didn't work here, and I followed your rule and it didn't work there. And after years of doing that, she's like, okay, enough already, enough. I'm just going to simplify it for you, and here, just follow this. And that's why she's moving this direction. So, she's just trying to simplify and simplify and resimplify. But there are certain rules that you have to adhere to in any market. So you can't simplify too much. You can't say, oh, just go with this and you'll be okay. Because you won't be okay. Okay, there's too many variables. So you can't simplify too much. But what they've done is taken a very complex system with all the rules factored in. All the rules are factored in that you see on the Ninja are summarized for you on the Segredo. But it still has the same issues that you have in Ninja, that you are going to get some fake outs. Like, I wouldn't take this number 1, number 2 into the 13 moving average on an existing downtrend, because I know based on the algorithm, which is the agenda today, if I pull up my 3-minute chart, I know that this change is a small change. It's not a big enough change for me to get excited about. This green here in the middle of this downtrend, it's too small. And I'm not going to be, so you're going to play with different rules for different things. You're saying we nagged Barbara to new heights of excellence? I'm afraid you did. You did. You nagged her to new heights of excellence. Well, she's a very creative individual, and like any artist, you know, artists, what they do is they try to outcreate themselves. They try to outcreate what they've already created. And so she never stops working. She's a Duracell battery. She's always working on something in the background. So that's why I tell people, don't worry about any transitions, because you know that she's always working on something. She's going to give you something. She won't stop creating. But you have nagged her to new heights, I'll tell you that. And that has driven her bonkers at times. You know, all the what about questions. She's like, enough already. So don't nag her anymore. But, you know, I understand your questions, which is why we have these classes. Because there are nuances that can change things. There's change. There's always that element of change. See, like coming back to this point over here at 1341, I wouldn't take it because look at my segredo. It's still all very red on my 3-minute chart. So you have to go, what's a nuance and what's something significant? And that's skill. That's becoming educated and learning the rules and doing the replay and looking at the bigger picture. And really, that's what the algorithm is about. It's connecting the dots on multiple time frames to see the more predictable direction and knowing what small change versus big change. How do I learn more about this, about the segredo? What do you mean more about this? How do you learn more about what? I'm highlighting quite a number of things here, so you have to be a little bit more specific. Just let me know what you specifically are addressing. On the 3-minute, do you take the trade when the candle changes from green to red and above the HMA, or take the trade when the HMA color changes from red to green and the candle is still red? Well, oh, I'm going to answer that question in just a second, Clive. Hans says, arrived to the webinar a few minutes ago. Oh my goodness, you're late. You're late. You're late. You're very, very late. That's why you're not connecting the dots. Well, you're going to have to come to the next class because I'm not going to cover it because you're late, and that would be rude to everybody else. So you're just going to have to, if you only get 10% out of today's class, then you have to come to another class, honey, and be on time. Okay? So, yeah, the agenda for today is talking about the algorithm and how to use higher time frames to predict the lower time frames, and you're still using your basic strategy rules for entry on the lower time frames. But I want to answer Clive. Been off for 6 months? Oh my goodness, you really are behind the curveball. So that's good that you come back, though. Welcome back. You know, so come again to the next class, and you get more back into the swing of things. And we've covered a lot of the ground, haven't we, guys? This last month, I feel bad for people who've missed this last month, because in the last month we certainly have covered a lot of ground. Might you ever have another evening class? Can I only watch half an hour of my lunch? Yeah, I'm in discussion at the moment. I might bring back the evening class. I'm thinking about bringing back the Thursday evening class. It's all about, like I said, the powers at the top, what they decide. But I'm thinking about bringing back an afternoon class and an evening class so that you guys can, and let me know. I think Thursday evenings seem to work very well for people. So I'm thinking about shifting having a Thursday afternoon class as well as a Thursday evening class. Oh, got a lot of that would be great. Yes, the same agenda for each. Exactly. Yes, I'll cover the exact same agenda so nobody misses anything. I only change the agenda from week to week. So a lot of people said that would be fabulous. Yeah, so we're in discussion about the schedule at the moment. Like I said, nothing's confirmed. I have to wait for the powers at the top to decide ultimately what they want to do and how they want to do it. And then we'll certainly let you know. And it will definitely be in the website. If you just click on the members classes, the red boxes will show up and it'll tell you the schedules if you click on the boxes. You'll have to take a nap, yes. Well, good. A lot of people are responding to that. So yeah, so that would be ideal. We can bring back the Thursday evening class. I might, if I do bring it back, I might make it a half an hour earlier though. It's 7 o'clock versus 7:30, so we don't go too late for people. So I hope that works for people's dinner schedules. If you can eat dinner a little earlier on Thursday. Perfect. Okay, good. So let me answer Clive's question because that was a good question. He was saying, do I wait for do I go in on the red candle if the HMA hasn't changed color? If it's above or below the price, something to that effect. So basically, the rule with the HMA and the color candle story is it's also about what time frame you're looking at. But let me answer the question and show you a couple examples to make it more clear for you. You know, and I'll tell you right now, to avoid all of that confusion, if you just had the Segredo, you could just say, well, when the Segredo gives you number 1, number 2, that's your candle you should really enter on. So that makes it a little easier for you. But, you know, we could take a look at this. Let's take a look at this example to clarify a little bit. Actually, let me do it like this so we can see. So if you were to look at this scenario here where the red candle comes in but we're above the HMA, now that wouldn't be necessarily a good timed entry because we could actually go back to green as we see that we did. So if you entered here, you're incurring all this risk, and you could not only incur all this risk before it comes down, things change in the market. You don't know how much momentum is left in the market. So by anticipating a direction too early, getting in too early is not a good thing either. Getting in too late and being too early those are the two things you have to avoid. So you have to really get your timing down to a science. So that's what the rules are for. So if I looked at 1302, you know, you can see here 1302 per the Segredo, we're on a number 3 with the oscillator's green, and we're just a Christmas candle. So that's not really an entry to go short. So, and I'll tell you right now, the HMA is not caught up to the price at this point. Now the HMA is caught up to the price on these 2 green candles. Now the red candle, the next red candle, I'm not going to get in on a green candle just because the HMA is caught up to the price. No, that's not a criteria for short either. So what I want is you want A plus B plus C to come into the equation before you take the entry. If you see a red candle, you go, okay, looks like we might be heading short. Doesn't mean you should enter. So what you want to do is make sure you got A, B, C in the equation. So over here you got, okay, you see the HMA is caught up to the price. It's actually touching the candle versus not touching. And we have a red candle by 1305. My stoves at the top, they're ticking down. And my Linreg is pointing down. So at this time we're at 1305. So now we see 1305. Now we're on the Segredo, we're on a red number 1, and its HMA has changed color. But the oscillator hasn't changed. Oscillator's still Christmas. So I could maybe steal some ticks on this, treat it as a real scalping trade, but if I'm not that comfortable and I'm the kind of guy who's had a lot of losses, that would not be the best pickings out of all the pickings you could choose. So I go, oh, maybe I'll leave that one out because, yeah, we got the HMA's red, we got a red number and a red candle, and but the oscillator's still green. I'll wait for the oscillator to be blue. So maybe by this point where the HMA's turned red, and now you got a red candle, you know, and your stoves are really pointing down, your Linrigs are pointing down, 1307. You know, now maybe you're looking, and you got the oscillator to go blue, is now you're looking to enter. You know, and you could take 3 ticks on that. It could actually bounce on the 13 and go back up. But as long as you know that you can get your desired target, and remember, this is a counter trend. So you're dealing with a very finite window of opportunity. The thing about counter trends is there's so much momentum left in the trend, it's very hard to gauge where that momentum really fizzles out. And so expect everything to happen on counter trends. Expect things to, when you get in, for it to bounce against you, then go short. Expect it to get in and then it doesn't go short right away. Expect it goes short and then, you know, expect everything to happen that could possibly happen on counter trends. So it's also about the direction you're trading and the probability factor of that direction, because now you can see, obviously we have some green, there's some momentum left. So 13 is still too diverged. But now at some point they do come down and close at 1311, we go to 1311, now the Segredo HMA is crossing, and we really got blue and red. So maybe you decide you only want to trade there. Maybe on that HMA cross with the number 1 with the blue Segredo with the red number. So you have different layers of filters. So the question is not really, do I trade here, do I trade here? I'll tell you, at the very least, you have to have the HMA caught up to the price, the Linreg 4 gives you a V, and your circle with a dot to get it to even with a red candle to even consider some type of gap trade. Remember when we covered the gap trades in the counter trend class and I showed you the different timings? The first one is the scalping, and know that that's a high risk because it can always whipsaw on you. And then the next one's when the HMA changes color, then that'll give you a few more ticks. And then the next one is when we're getting more ready for a reversal. And you can see the nice thing about the Segredo is that the HMA crosses the 13 sooner than the Ninja 13 crosses. So it's actually giving you that really early entry, that perfect timing for the reversal. That's what it's giving you. It's hard to see on the Ninja because you go, well, it's going to bounce on the 13, you know, and it doesn't. It goes continue. That's your reversal entry right there at 1311. And the Segredo, it's not so clear on the Ninja because you don't know if it's going to bounce on support. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But the Segredo, the matchy red on red, cross with the HMA, crossing, all ABCs all there. All the ingredients are there. And you say, I've got a perfect reversal trade. I'm going to go for it. And if you've got 2 time frames in sync, it should give you even more confidence. 1311, notice that your 3-minute HMA is turned red and everything's on where it should be. That's a good point about the Segredo clearing up the bounce issue to some degree. Exactly. Well, that's why I said a lot of you haven't really learned the nuances of the Segredo to really be able to take full advantage of what the job that it's actually doing for you. See, and it's taking out the figure, you know, because now you can see based on that question how much figure is going on with a lot of you guys with the Ninja story. It's like, do I do this? Don't I do this? Sometimes it works. Sometimes the last time I did it, I got stopped out. Now this time, look how much price action's there. It's all this figure. It's exhausting, and it destroys our certainty level because there are so many variables. There's the criteria, and then there's, you know, the stuff that happens in between that kind of messes it up sometimes. But now the Segredo, like I said, is sophisticated coding, giving you, okay, this is really true, this is not so true, but you still have to verify, do I have red number, red candle, plus cross, plus blue bar with red number? You still have to say, is all the ingredients there, do I want to take this one short? Or is only some of the ingredients, or is it too small, or it, you know, doesn't quite line up with the other time frame. You still have to verify. You can't just say, oh, I've got number 1, I'm going to go with it. Does that make sense? Mozilla Firefox still only browsers Segredo charts will work on? Yes. Hi, Melanie. Unrelated, but wanted to know, is Barbara's chat? Oh, my goodness. We answered that question at the beginning of the class. I really don't know. I really don't know, guys, about the schedule. We are going to be, you know, we're in transition, and we're, you know, as I said, Shadow Trade is giving you a lot of free stuff in the past, and I'm sure they'll certainly be coming out with some more things, and we are discussing more classes and all this good stuff. So we'll let you know. Just stay tuned, check in on the website, and we'll be posted there, and certainly I'm sure at some point you'll be emailed with something. Can you please go over the 3-minute Ninja and the 3-minute Segredo charts and go over the criteria? I despise the 1 minute. Well, that's fine. I also despise the 1 minute sometimes. And that's the beauty of these time frames, is you can use one instead of the other. Well, the 3-minute is not too much different than the 1 minute, except that it's another layer of filter. It's another filter. So basically it's what it's saying is what's a small change versus a big change. So on the 1 minute, everything looks like a change. we're going down, now it's a green candle, now it's a red candle, now the limit turned, now it hasn't turned. Everything's a change on the 1 minute because it's so close to the real-time price action. On the 3 minute, it's saying, yeah, we're only got some green, not enough green, or we got a lot of green, you know. So as you can see here with this, the key thing is you want to, again, follow the rules for the strategy. So they apply on all time frames. So if you're trading a time frame, you just trade the rules on that time frame. Okay, you don't worry about what the 1 minute's doing at that point. You just trade the time frame and the rules. So if you're doing a clear trade, you got to have the same 3 or more moving averages, your lim regs, your 13, your HMA's green touching candle story. If you're trading the gap trade, you got to have, you know, the same thing. The HMA has to be caught up the price, the circle with the dot, the Linwick full makes a V, there's your scalping gap trade, or the HMA changes color, you still got to have 5 ticks or more before you hit the 13, there's your second part of the gap trade, or the HMA continues, the HMA is crossing the 13 is going to cross the 20, there you got your reversal, you know, and then when it crosses the third moving average, then you got your clear trade again. So these are all different entries, and if you're using the Segredo, the confusing parts, like the trend trade is easy, but the confusing parts about the timing of when it's going to cross and it doesn't cross and you're not sure when the cross is, that kind of stuff is now eradicated with the 3 minute sequence, numbering sequence. Because now you can say, if we look at this reversal strategy in particular, at 13:30 here, where you're not sure, does it cross, is it ready to cross, do I enter on this bar, do I wait till the next bar, am I too late? That kind of figure story at 13:27 here, if we go to the Segredo, yeah, 13:27, we're red, blue on blue already, number 5, and its HMA is crossing already. So you know, when you see that kind of correlation, the blue-red, you know, the HMA's just crossed the 13 already, we're red bar, you know, you can definitely take that entry short. We're not an 8, we're not a 7, and you know, you got some price action to grab. Or you could have entered here on the gap trade at the number 1. The Segredo looks very good there, yeah. You can still trade on 4s and 5s, guys. You can still steal ticks as a scalper. You can still steal ticks, 3 ticks here and 3 ticks there. There's nothing that says you can only trade on the 1 and 2. But make sure that you've got other things confirming the direction. You know, like here you can see your MACDs matching your stows are crossing the over, you know, you've got the criteria there for a trend change for your reversal. So then I would take a number 5 and not worry about it, because I'm only going for a set number of ticks. And then you just make sure you're out by Christmas. Look, here's Christmas coming in on 7. There's your 8. You're out by Christmas with 7 or 8, and you can see you hit a support point. So you trade from there to the next support. You know, and if you want to ride the trend, well, then you need a 5 minute. You know, somebody says, would you recommend having a 5 minute Segredo chart? Yeah, we can change this to a 5 minute. Absolutely. You can combine things any way you like. They're all going to show you the same thing with a slightly different perspective. But it's all going to give you the overall true direction. So if you look here at, let's look at this change here, 13:45, right? Do you see that at 13:45, per the 5 minute, when you have a Christmas candle, but my Segredo is still short, we're only at number 5. We're not a number 8 or a 7 yet. We're just a number 5. So then I go, well, maybe I'll take a chance on this and see if they will continue to, I'll get out when I see 8, 7 or 8 on the 5. And by that time, at 2 o'clock, you see here we're coming into 2 o'clock, just after 2. Your 3 minutes now starting to give you Christmas and again the yellow bar, so then maybe you're out by then. So now you've maximized the direction. You got in at the beginning of the reversal, and you've taken all that you can possibly take out of it, and you exit somewhere down here based on what the different time frames are giving you in terms of timing. So at that time, by 1405, you got the circle. Remember, the 0 number represents change. 0 represents the market's thinking about it. Are we going to continue in this direction, or are we changing? So you definitely want to be out by 8 or 0 for sure, or when you see Christmas. Those are your 3 exit conditions, and you can play with different Christmases on different time frames. The moving averages as barriers still stop me from taking clear trades. Segredo is helping a lot with this. Yes, because that's the tricky part about clear trades, because you don't really see that it's going to go through until the second or sometimes third bar when it's too late, and then you're at the you're at the end of the breakout. You're like at the low of the bar, at the high of the bar. By the time you say, oh, we're going to cross, it's almost like you have to anticipate the cross is going to happen with that trajectory. And that's a little tricky, that particular timing. You know, you got to have confidence that's going to continue, especially with things like this, where the Stowe's already at the bottom, the 100 hasn't made it through, MACD's going through the center line. That will give me confidence, you know, that it's going to continue. But really what helps with that, exactly as you said, is having the Segredo, because if you see a number 1 or number 2, here you can see your 1 and 2s right there on your Segredo with your red on red with those big oscillator bars, you know, and your 3 minute is confirming the direction, sorry, your 5 minutes confirming the direction, I would take that trade for sure. But yes, there's another nugget. How much does a Segredo cost per month for new customers? Well, if you are in this class, which means you are a Shadow Traders member, and you just purchased the $9.99, you get a special bonus forwarded to you in that you only pay $100 per month for the Segredo. Like I said, you're not locked into a contract. You can cancel at any time. The other subscribers who haven't paid the $9.99 and not part of the Shadow Traders training, they get to pay. They pay double the price basically. So you're getting it at a 50% discount basically, which is it's a really good deal. So I would certainly take advantage of it before they bring in the new stuff for the new season, you know, and change the prices on everybody. So take advantage of it as a Shadow Traders member. You know, I would definitely start. Look, even if you make one trade, you know, at $100 a week, you know, you've paid for your Segredo. It's only $100 a month. If anything, if it keeps you out of some extra losing trades, I think it's worth the price. Even if you don't use it all the time for entries because you're so used to your ninja chart, it's worth the price. It saves you losing those hundreds of dollars, you know. So, but once you get used to it, you're going to be pretty much hooked, I'll tell you right now, because it does a lot of work for you. Glenn says, ditto on that. Yeah, so all you need to do is make sure you leave out the WW if you want to sign up tonight or tomorrow. And here, I'll put the address. Leave off the WWW, because if you put the WWW in, you're going to pay the higher price. And just, you know, I'm going to give you the current discounted link. It's Shadow Traders. Just type in Shadow Traders .segreto.quants.com, and you can sign up and you'll get the $100 rate. Segreto Quants. I'm sending this link to everybody. Leave off the www, then you won't go. You'll go to the right URL. Otherwise, you'll go to a different URL that's charging you a different, takes you to a different shopping cart, charges you a different price. Okay, there you have it. How about the trade room with the Segredo? You didn't talk about that. I don't know. Like I said, they're scheduling some new stuff. They're working out some new deals or training some new people, and they, you know, they've been working on these things all summer. So, you know, we're always slow to release things. So everybody knows that about us. We come up with things, but you know, we don't always launch them immediately, because when trading, you got to iron out a lot of kinks, you know. So we may talk about things for a while, but it takes a while to get these things confirmed. Fortunately, due to an appointment mix-up, I missed a good portion of today's presentation. Could you, at the end of the session, possibly restate any announcements that I missed? I certainly appreciate it. Sure. And I'll probably be introducing the Thursday night class again if I get the green light from the powers that be, and then we'll then hopefully those guys are working and can come into these classes late can still take advantage of the evening classes, which seem to work better for majority of people's schedules. So I may be bringing that Thursday evening class back, as well as have a Thursday day class for those people who prefer the day class. Okay, so unfortunately I don't know, I can't talk about the new changes and things like that just yet because I really don't know, and I will be speaking out of turn. So I'd rather just wait for the green light, and they will launch whatever they're going to launch when they're going to launch it. So unfortunately, I know you guys are been waiting and anticipating these things. I just don't, I can't say right now because I personally don't know. They haven't told me anything. I'm not the decision maker. I'm just the lackey, just like you. Mm. Yeah, I definitely will show more of the Segredo in the future classes for sure. So, okay, so any last few questions right now, because it is 2:30 already, and like I said, today's agenda was really about go look at the higher time frames, have one chart that's your rotating chart, and scroll down. As you can see, based on our higher time frame, we did in fact close the gap, and we did in fact have this nice downtrending coming, and then stick with your and scroll, and if you have fun with it, scroll all the way from the daily chart down to the in-between time frames, or if you're just a person that wants to just use a 240 chart as your main view, you can do that. And then your 240, there you can see we started to go red. The HMA really caught up to the price, or your 120 chart if you like. You can see, look, we haven't quite hit the 13 now. The nice thing about this kind of view is that you have an element to predict. I know that between the HMA color change, where the price is sitting right now, and the 13, if they continue the red direction, I know that I'm good for this amount of price action. Once it hits the 13, change is going to happen. It's either going to bounce, it may go through to the R4, and then bounce. Change is going to happen here, but I have an element to predict. I have this much price action to work with. So now when I see my Segredo give me the number ones and my Ninja give me the criteria that I'm looking for, I'm ready to take those shorts based on the fact that I have this element of predict here according to the higher time frame. And that's what following the algorithm is all about, which is today's message. Now, and then if you add in, if you add in your buy-sell signals when the mirror trader, as I said earlier, you can, you don't have to use all this information, but you can just use the mirror and it'll flash those buy-sell signals to tell you the exact timing as well. You can use that as well. So you can have this kind of a workspace where you just crop this, and then when you see your number ones and twos and threes come in, you can either trade it off one time frame, or you could trade it with two time frames in sync. See, like the 1 minute's going red right now, but the 3 minute is still Christmas. So for some of you, you may want to scalp those 3 ticks going short here on the blue. Some of you may say, no, I'm going to wait till the 3 minute gives me a blue, and then the 1 minute will be on a number 4 or 5, and then I'll trade. So you can try different timings using different sets of confirmations when things line up. Or some of you may say, I'm only going to wait till the mirror actually gives me a sell. So it's a little bit of everything. You don't have to do either or. You can try everything if you want. But eventually you're going to settle on what you're really confident with, what gives you your fill 99% of the time. And then in closing, the only announcements I said today is make sure that you go on the Segredo, click on the FAQ, and read the instructions on optimizing your computer. Make sure you clean your cache, your cookies, your defrag your computer, and make sure when you're running the Segredo that you just type in segredoquants.com. When you sign up with the shadowtraders.segredoquants.com. Once you've signed up, you just use Firefox and type just SegredoQuants, not Shadow Traders SegredoQuants. Just use segredoquants.com, because that is a faster URL. You won't have any freezing issues. And lastly, ideally, you should try to use Segredo on a separate computer than your NinjaTrader, but it still works on the same computer. As you can see, I have a 4 gig computer. Okay, there's my buy signal coming in on the mirror. I have a 4 gig computer, and I'm running GoToMeeting plus Ninja plus Segredo, and I haven't had any freezing issues, none whatsoever. There's my real-time buy signal. This is going green. This is now the red is. You can see that was the scalping red, and you can see based on our Ninja where the support is. 13 is about to cross the 100. Okay, so guys, go play with it, and send me an email if you have any questions. Segredo without the www. Yes, always. And to sign up, leave off the www. Just do shadowtraders.segredoquants.com. Here's my email, Melanie Sun Trades. If you have any questions, you need some help signing up for Segredo, then certainly email me and I'll help you with that. melaniesuntrades@gmail.com. Thanks so much. Have a great weekend, great class. Awesome. Yes, that's my princess in the background. Thank you. Well, guys.